Hello and welcome to the first of two walks from my summer trip to the Dolomites. Today we start off at Ponteve's guest house near Ortesay. Excuse those bins there for the doggers. Sorry, camper vanners. Obviously it was that woman's dogs that were confusing me. Anyway, you're going to turn left and walk to the end of the driveway. And at the end of the driveway, cross the road and you'll get to the bus stop. You can take any bus from here about 4 or 5 stops and that'll take you to Ortesay St Ulrich Main Square. And just get a look at the view from the bus stop. You certainly don't get that waiting for the number 18 to Euston Station. So we're going to start our walk from St Ulrich Main Square. Oh, sorry Charlie, it's a piazza. Before we start the walk though, have a look around and just marvel that even though this is Italy, everything looks a bit Austrian or Swiss or Tyrolean, whatever that is. I even saw somebody at one point in a restaurant, one of the servers wearing lederhosen. I guess the borders are a bit blurred round here. Anyway, we're going to cut up this street here, mind out for the running grannies, right next to the bancomat. And we're going to walk about 100 metres until we get to that sort of red flashy sign in front of us, which is the sign for the Seceda ski lift. There's not much to say about this. I suppose just follow all the escalators and the moving walkway thingy all the way to the very top, and that'll take you to the terminus for the ski lift. But at something like €50 or more return, we're not actually taking the ski lift, we're going for a walk. Uphill. A lot uphill. The plan for this walk was to see the top of Seceda, but being a bit blonde, that went out the window and I just followed Trail 9, where you definitely could see the top of Seceda, just from a distance. But let's not dwell on that, as the scenery in this walk was amazing in itself. Look, there's the cable car, which will follow along with Route 9 for a bit. Let's start by crossing this bridge and we'll follow the path to the right past some beautiful waterfalls. This water was amazingly clear, and as you follow it you'll often see drinking troughs like this one where it's safe to refill your bottle. When the river is this nice, you just can't help but get down there for a closer look. But then again, come on, we've got a trail to follow. Onwards and upwards. Okay, so a little further up the trail, we cross over the river on this nice little wooden bridge. Of course, stopping again to take in the beautiful scenery. Don't worry, there'll be a lot of that on this walk. That's it, keep going straight ahead up the trail, follow the gravel path, and when you get to this sign, just ignore it. Cross over that road in front of you and keep going up the gravel trail on the left hand side. Notice we're going uphill. It's quite gentle now, but for the masochists amongst you, don't worry, it'll soon get steep enough. Ooh, look, there's another wee waterfall, how cute. Eventually, that gravel path will put us onto the tarred road. And turning around you can see it's begun to get a bit steeper now, and we're beginning to get some altitude. There's another sign here pointing to Seceda on Trail 9, so we're going to follow it by heading towards this cafe, having a look at the view, and then going up these stairs on the left. I will say that from this point, we've now got a couple of hours of continuous, steep uphill walking. So if you need to, stop and take a big breath. And when you're ready, let's go uphill. So, from the cafe, we're going to take that path up to the left. You can see the red and white trail signs there for trail 5 and 9. Follow those up these long, steep steps. Take your time because it's pretty hard and going on your thighs here. And at the top you're going to turn right and follow the trail into the bottom of a field. It was somewhere around here that I lost the trail to head for Seceda, but don't worry, sticking to trail 9 gives you a beautiful walk anyway. When you get into the field, have a turn round and you'll see again just how quickly this trail gives you altitude. Now walk across the field that you just got into, and about halfway across you'll notice that the trail doubles back on itself to climb up the hill to go under the cable car and to head towards these houses.
A few moments later.
The next bit of the walk goes up the hill from the car park for those houses we just saw. You'll be on tarred road now for quite some time, but don't let that fool you, it's still really steep. Mind you, the forest scenery's lovely. It reminds me of walking in Scotland with all these fir and pine trees around. You know, going up this road, we actually went past a couple who were pushing a baby in a pushchair. I was really amazed at the strength and guts they had. At one point, you'll go around this tight bend and then through that gate in front of us. You know, people actually drive up here. I don't think the wee Seat hire car that they gave me would have done too well, especially on what you'll see's coming up next. Anyway, keep following the road up and up, past the signs which sometimes Mother Nature has got the better of, and eventually you'll get to this signposted turning just up ahead of us here, which is going to take us off the tar and onto a rocky, gravelly path. It was at this point, I guess, that the pushchair couple had finally called it quits. I don't think their pushchair was one of those 4x4 off-road types. That's the gravel path they would have had to tackle just in front of us. Again, it's worth a wee turn round and an altitude check here. We're actually pretty level with that cliff line where all the trees are opposite us there. Quite high up by now. At the end of this gravel path, you'll get to the cattle grid here. And this is the first time I've seen one with these little springy rods across it. I'm not sure what those are for. If you've any ideas, please let me know in the comments. Just beyond the cattle grid, you'll get to this big bank of signs, and if you stare at it, you'll notice none of them now indicate the route to Seceda. Oh well, ho-hum. After the signposts, keep following Trail 9 and this happy wanderer little chappie across the meadow towards the tree line where that couple are just coming from. The trail is really easy to follow, it's a well-beaten path, and it's clear to see when you've got gates like this where you have to squeeze yourself around the fence, and you can easily always see the Trail 9 signs there. Keep heading up and you'll come to yet another tight gate. I guess these are put in to confuse any stray cattle. There's no way they're getting round these obstacles. It's quite a climb to this point, so that tombstone looking stone in front of us is a good point to stop for a breather and some well needed water. Beyond the tombstone rock, the trail kinda levels out through the forest for a while, and you'll see yourself coming to another clearing, just like the one coming up now. I guess that some of these clearings are probably used as ski routes when the hills are covered in snow. Now, I'm not much of a skier. I've only ever been skiing once, and that was by accident up in the Arctic Circle, where I had to ski back through forests and across the sea. because somebody had taken my boots, but that's a story for another time. Now, if you're not sure where you're going over these clearings, look down, because the signs are painted on the rocks, and this one points us right across the clearing, just where our happy wandering fellow is headed off to now. And before you get back into the forest, take a minute to stop and look over to your right. Guess what that is there? Oh yeah, that's Seceda, where we had planned to go this morning. Not to worry, we've had a great walk so far, and just on the left here, there's a cracking bench to sit down and have a look at Seceda from if you feel like it. We didn't do that because we had to run into the forest and put wet weather gear on. The clouds had suddenly come down and we were in the middle of quite a heavy rainstorm. Unfortunately, I can't show you the rest of the trail to the top of this hill because the rain got into my camera and the footage is all a bit wonky. Needless to say, stopped at the hostel at the top, had a hot cup of tea and then carried on with the rest of the walk for the day. Actually, up here on top of the hill was quite peaceful, now that the clouds and the rain had gone. It was amazing how quickly everything dried out, and these wild ponies and the amazing tinkling cows didn't seem to mind either the slight wind or us tourists trampling through their garden. Now, if you take a detour off the path and walk up the hill on your right towards these amazing views, you'll see a little stone tower, which you'll have seen from the path, this one here. And this is a cracking place just to sort of take 5 minutes break. That's Seceda over there hiding in the clouds. And this is, like I said, such a cracking place to sit down, put your feet up and watch the clouds rolling on and off the top of that mountain. Don't worry, the local wildlife around, they're only taking it slow and having a chill as well. Enjoy a bit of a rest here. Well, after that wee break, we're going to head to the turning point of this walk, which is the Refugio that you could see in the distance there. I couldn't see a clear trail link between this trail and the Refugio, so after another bit of off-roading, in other words cutting across the ground to the left there, we end up here outside the Refugio, which is a lovely place with a handy toilet stop, and they do a mean cup of hot chocolate with a decent view. As an aside, Hotel Pontives, where we started today's walk, is down that valley to the right. From this point, we start our descent, as the rock there says, to Ortische St Ulrich. From here, it's properly steep, but this time steep downhill all the way back to the cable car ski lift point. Eventually, just by staying on this trail, we'll actually pick up Trail 9 again too. At one point, you see going past you what looks like a train track, and it actually turns out to be a funicular railway, one of those ones that gets pulled up and downhill on a cable. As it passes, you can see just how steep a gradient you're going down. One thing I noticed on this trail were these wooden posts. On closer inspection, they turned out to be the Stations of the Cross, and they lead all the way up the hill to the top. Definitely special kudos has to go to the faithful who'd be climbing up here on Holy Week, when it's probably still freezing cold and probably still covered in snow. I'm not sure I could manage that. Anyway, further down the trail we come to this familiar sight. These are the houses we passed earlier, where the family with the pushchair started their walk. It's a good sign because it means we're getting closer to our destination. At this point, we're going to leave Trail 9 and we'll just follow this steep road down the hill. But we need to be careful because although the road is steep and narrow, there are buses and trucks and cars to dodge, and the locals all drive like they're racing drivers. So that's us almost back at our starting point. This walk took about 5 hours or so to do, long enough for my Garmin to stop recording about halfway down the hill. Maybe I should have checked how much charge it had the previous night before I started. Anyway, now we're going to turn off the road at this brown sign, which I think is the sign for the cable car. Again, send me a comment and correct me if I've got that wrong. Here, we're going to go down a set of steps and go through a cemetery and out onto the street in front of the ski lift place. You can see the church here below us. Cut through the churchyard and turn left when you exit, and that'll bring you back to the entrance to the ski lift and the journey down the escalators to St Ulrich, where there are plenty of places for a well-deserved dinner. What a lovely day it's been. What a cracking walk. Thanks for joining me on this walk. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a really great day. Thanks for staying to the end of the video too. Please give it a like and hopefully leave me a wee comment or something, and if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Ciao!